You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast. It's been a long time coming. We are here officially now on YouTube, as well as many other platforms. Appreciate everybody, of course, who makes Locked On Browns their first listen day in, day out. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. We had talked about this when the show was going to YouTube. We were going to have some changes. And I will say, I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, at Jeff_LG_Lloyd. Show itself at Locked On Browns. Follow back account. DMs are open. He is your co-host, Garrett Bush, the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Obviously, the Barbershop Saturday mornings on 92.3 The Fan. This was brought to Garrett and I'd say probably at this point, maybe about a month ago. Locked On, obviously, where Garrett works. Ownership, heavily involved in both platforms. They decided it was something they wanted to pursue. We were given the opportunity, got to know each other. As you guys saw, there were a couple of soft openings. I did appearance with Garrett. Garrett obviously, had been on Locked On Browns. I'm excited for the future of this. Garrett obviously carries a lot of passion, as anybody knows, as long as I've been here. A lot of passion comes from me. There's going to be fun. There's going to be laughs. As far as guests, they will still be heavily involved. You're not going to miss, John Costco, Pete Smith, many others, because you're all going to eventually get tired of just Garrett and I rumbling on to each other. So we'll bring in some fresh flavors, some fresh voices here, have a lot of fun with it. I'm excited for the direction of it. Anybody who's curious, it's still going to exist as a podcast in any other way. Whether it's Odyssey, whether it is, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you were listening to Locked On Browns, if that's your flavor, that's great. But for us, it's another avenue. It's another way to, promote the show, grow the show, and just hopefully make it an even 10 times bigger success than it is at this point. With that, my man, Garrett Bush. Garrett, I am excited. I'm stoked. I'm glad to have you here. For those who don't know of Garrett Bush yet, Garrett, let everybody kind of know, because you very similar to me, just kind of doing your thing, waiting for an opportunity, doors open. And as everybody knows, obviously now Garrett, part of, the ultimate Cleveland sports show, new, hot, exciting. Garrett Bush is in the house, kids.
Well, look, listen, first of all, shout out to you, Jeff, because you've been doing a tremendous job on this podcast for a very long time. So, you put that groundwork in, and you've been nothing but gracious and great to me. We talked about this, like you said, about a couple of months ago, almost about a month and a half ago. And when it was brought to us, how when you start working with people, you're like, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I got to learn an all new dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? I already got all these other co-hosts and co-workers. How's this going to work? But from Jump Street, you just embraced me and said, hey, man, listen, let's go make this thing great. I brought the opportunity, and if it wasn't for just the person who you are and what you've already put that groundwork in, this wouldn't be what it is today. So I want to appreciate you. For those guys out there that don't know my story a little bit, my name is Garrett Bush. I've worked in the industry for about 11 or 12 years, but like Jeff said, I just put the groundwork in on a lot of these opportunities that have come up because of the groundwork that I've done just on my own, just doing different things, being active into the Browns community, sports community. So I went to Ohio University. I played football there from 2000 to 2005. I played defensive line. After I left Ohio University, I kind of was like, oh, I don't know what I was going to do. Eventually kicked around and went back to broadcasting school. Graduated from the Ohio Media School. Was Ohio Center for Broadcasting back then, but that's how old I am. So definitely did that thing. Started working at 92.3 The Fan in 2011. and I've been there ever since. So I've been at the Fan over 10 years. I do a show called The Barbershop on 92.3 The Fans, Saturdays 8 to 12. A lot of people know me from that. I do a YouTube show called The Barbershop, and just recently just got a great opportunity to work with some really cool guys over at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So I'm a host over there. We just debuted about a week ago, so that's been a great ride. But all in all, this is this is the next chapter, and I'm just as excited for this podcast as I am for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, because I've been passionate about doing a podcast and doing it with someone to, put the groundwork in on the Browns and to be able to bring a different medium. And then it was also great that, John Costco. I know John Costco. Like, I've had on my show pretty much every week for the last 3 years or something crazy. And last year we did a podcast together, Browns preview show. So, John Costco is definitely going to be a big part of this show because, a game recognized game. You saw his talent. I saw his talent, and we're going to vibe and have a good time like old friends. So I hope you guys make sure you subscribe to this podcast, and it's going to be great, man. It's going to be it's going to have guests. It's going to have people, and we're going to try to knock this thing out the park.
No question about it. And, for me, once I got to know Garrett a little bit better, and the idea was, we were going to set up a meeting with you guys, we'll talk. And, it was supposed to be like a Tuesday or something or whatever. I had already started reaching out to people, and, I realized, John had worked with him, and John's like, oh, wow. He's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Before the meeting even happened, me and Garrett were already talking. And the thing was, both of us, as everybody knows, I talk about the fact I was a wide receiver in college. I love the fact that Garrett's a former player himself. Look, I don't discredit anybody who didn't play, but it is always something to say when you at least play, you played at a certain level and you have some understanding of it, because look, some of y'all know you fans get a little crazy and you just throw stuff out of nowhere. And it's like, well, that just can't happen. That's just not the way it works.
My grandma's better than him. No, your grandma's not.
No. And one of my favorites, obviously, as everybody knows, I live here in New Jersey. Eli Manning's a bum. Eli Manning's a bum. 2-time Super Bowl winner, first ballot Hall of Famer. He is a bum. But stuff like that. But, so Garrett and I reached out, the way, where the time frame I wanted to work, the time frame that worked best for him working. And Garrett got a bit of this last night. We kind of did a little bit of a dry run, and, I got teenage daughters. I need Doritos. I need a soda. And I mean, and it's like, girls, it's okay. I'm not recording. Just get what you need to get the heck out of here. But we are going to have a ton of fun with this. For me, this is the first time where I'm now also going to have an avenue where I'm just not the host of this show. I'm essentially also a panelist on this show. As everybody's noticed over the last few months, I've been doing more solo shows, and all of you know my disdain for doing solo shows over the years. But it was part of putting my brand onto this. I always like to have a guest, but if it was going to be something where now it was going to a two-man show, it's going to be a lot more of my thoughts as well, my analysis. Of course, Garrett's along with it. So we're just going to have an absolute ton of fun with it. We're going to talk a little bit here about the transition to YouTube. Obviously, just another avenue to promote the show, another avenue for fans to be involved. Some folks are just into the video side. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We'll get to the first segment here of what is going to be the new Locked On Browns. We're going to talk a little bit about this rookie class. Garrett's going to pick somebody on the offensive side of the ball as far as maybe the most important rookie. I'm going to pick somebody on the defensive side of the ball. We've got all that in common here. Your latest Locked On Browns. It is now a duo, Garrett Bush and Jeff Lloyd. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's NBA playoffs. Where are you at, Phoenix Suns? Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Garrett, YouTube. Obviously, this is something you were familiar with. Obviously, as you said, the barbershop, and it's something you had done. It obviously developed there, and this was one of the first places and I didn't really know John and Garrett worked together, but I knew this was something Garrett talked about. Check over to YouTube. And the funniest thing is you guys all know John Costco was a frequent Monday guest here. Once the PFF grades came out, we always did the show with John. We always called it the Under the Lens. Whereas Garrett, funny enough, basically we were working together. We didn't even know it with John Costco because Garrett was doing obviously the preview, the Browns preview for the weekend. with John Costco, and which is even funnier because, as everybody knows in the beginning, 2017, when this first started, when David Locke came to me and he's like, we can't really get anybody to take it. Obviously the team's not very good. He's like, you have had a ton of experience doing NFL draft coverage. So basically the shows went, Monday was the Browns got their butts kicked this weekend. Here's why. Tuesday, NFL draft. Wednesday, NFL draft. Thursday, NFL draft. This is how this team can get better. Da, da, da. Friday, here was your preview show. The Browns are going to get the doors kicked in this weekend, and this is why. And it was rinse, repeat. Obviously, everything 2018 started to change for the good. But Garrett, try to explain here to the listeners a little bit. Obviously, you have a ton of experience, and of course, now with the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, featured live on YouTube, just the transition of content in general, and certainly podcast in general, going the video route.
Yeah, like right now, it's a situation. Let me turn this down because I'm over modulating here. There we go. I think I think YouTube is the future. And I think it really dawned on me in that it was the future because I don't really watch television. When I get ready to watch something, only reason I have cable is because I need to watch the live games, Browns, Cavs, Guardians. That's it, and some of the other teams that play around. So
right, like try calling your cable company and saying, I need 4 channels. Can you take this bill down to like a reasonable number?
Hey, listen, even I got streaming, right? So I got DirecTV streaming. I've had YouTube streaming services. I've had a lot of those services, and usually they all get up to about $100, which is about the same amount as the cable bill anyway. But I realized that YouTube was the future. And when it comes to content, you can create solid content that can rival even some of the people that have been doing it for years. Like, before, how you used to get in the game was you had to either be a reporter or journalist. Maybe you thought you wanted to one day work for ESPN, or like no one knew what the avenues were to get into the game. Now, you could go direct, you can build a fan base and go directly to the consumers, directly to the people who enjoy the content. So, my transition into radio started from YouTube and started from doing my own blogs. Without being able to do those, I would have never got noticed. And so I always tell people, I encourage people, hey, listen, if you always say, hey, G.Bush, how'd you get in the game? How'd you start doing radio? Listen, the first thing you need to do is get you a microphone, get you a little camera. It don't have to be expensive, and just start talking, right? And build your audience and build your brands. But in terms of YouTube and sports, I think that's the next level. That's the next wave because people are consuming more and more different podcasts, different content on Browns. If you can't get the type of content that you want, you can search it out on the internet, and there's all different avenues with different people with different personalities, opinions. And some of those opinions are more entertaining than what you would see on TV. So I think this is going to be great. I think this is going to really step our game up. I'm going to really enjoy it. Me and you've been talking about this for the last week or so, just chomping at the bit and getting ready to go. And we think about it. This is only off season. We ain't even talked about no games yet, man. That's gonna be a blast. So you guys out there, man, we got some stuff in store for you. We got some great guests coming up. Make sure you start your day with the podcast. And now you're going to be able to start it with the podcast. And for those who like to watch visually, we'll be ready for you too.
Yeah. And, I do want to stress this. Look, if there anybody, that maybe the video route isn't your route, I please ask that you do a favor. Just go to YouTube, subscribe, whatever. If you don't watch that avenue, that's absolutely fine. And I never ask much. And you guys know I've always tried to be as accommodating as possible. Certainly with, charity events and all the work that's trying to be done or any causes that anybody's trying to do. I've certainly tried to get involved and assist, retweet, help you guys, promote that stuff. So if you could just do that for us. For me, obviously Locked On has transcended into YouTube. And I'll be honest, guys, and you know through the years, my skills are much better on the microphone than they certainly are on the computer. When Garrett was coming in here, this was one thing that was going to be great to do this. Had a lot of experience. He's been, as far as the production side of it. So this was it basically almost like a perfect match. It was what I needed as far as basically a teammate, a co-host. And Garrett, obviously with the passion and the fact that Garrett is now doing a show where it's 2 hours a day, every day, understands the daily grind of it, understands the fact that there's some days where it's like, man, we got to find some content. I mean, you got to look under a rock or something, man, because there ain't nothing. And I mean, nothing going on right now. But, you know, you work, you cultivate it. And, you know, obviously with the off season, you know, of course, it's going to be football talk. It's going to be Cleveland Browns talk. But as I've always told you guys, this time of the year allows for a little more flexibility, maneuverability, you know, with the show. And, you know, every now and then you might get something, you know, where you're going to hear me rant and rave about having 2 teenage daughters. One of my first conversations with Garrett was, actually, we were sitting down. He came on my show with me. He just saw me take a deep breath, and he's like, "Yeah, all right." I'm like, "Yeah, I just dropped my daughter off to the movies for the first time to meet a guy," and it's just, you know, I mean, so I mean, but the world, Garrett's still laughing at that. Like he
still
just
going crazy.
He took a deep sigh. He was just like, "I got nothing for you, man. I got nothing for you." But we're gonna have a ton of fun with it. I know everybody's excited to see this for 2.5 hours a week. I mean, all shaved up and all clean. There might have been about 12 blood scars all over my face last night because I usually never go 100% clean shaven. So, but I am truly excited for this. Always thankful to all the folks over at Locked On, David Locke, everybody, of course, the Tegna Media Corporation, our guy, Ross Jackson. And I just want to give him a little plug here. Ross Jackson hosts the Locked On Saints podcast, but Ross is basically also the team leader for the NFL channel. And even yesterday, me and Garrett were just trying to get our final X's and O's done before going here today and finally recording. 5 o'clock on a Sunday. Ross jumped on a phone line with us real quick, talked us through a couple of things just to make sure, everything was in line. We were in sync and ready to go. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Look, again, if this is not your avenue, I truly understand. I know there's a lot of listeners to Locked On Browns that are generally older people. I mean, podcasts were probably one thing for you to get into. So maybe you're not ready for YouTube. But again, the link is up there on my page. Obviously, Garrett will put, Garrett's going to put out the show here a little bit later today. Just click the link, subscribe to the show. If you continue to go the podcast route, that's fine with me. We will do live shows. Most of our recordings will be done early in the morning, but we both have availability at night. Browns news breaks. This is just another avenue for us to be able to give you the best coverage we can as quickly as we can. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of fun with it. Got to go here and get another sponsor in here. Garrett's going to lead off the next segment. We're going to start talking a little bit about this rookie class. Again, appreciate you all for being along for the ride here on what is now the new Locked On Browns. Imagine dipping your finger into that plastic tub of birthday cake frosting and then opening your eyes and realizing that it was only 150 calories and 16 grams of protein. That is what it's like to eat a birthday cake puff from Built. I just received my birthday cake puffs, and I have never had anything like this before. They're available right now, and we can't promise that they will be available very long. So go get them at Built.com. And if you haven't tried the puffs, I'll let you in a little secret because that's what friends do. A chocolate-covered marshmallow protein bar. Yeah, you heard me. Delicious flavored marshmallows covered in 100% real chocolate. Make every day your birthday with Built Bars birthday cake puffs. Built has taken the delicious experience of biting into a fresh slice of birthday cake and robbed it in 100% white chocolate and applied sprinkles with 150 calories, 16 grams of protein, and only 1 gram of sugar. This limited time flavor is an amazing option if you are looking for a healthy way to get flavor and variety in your day. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. And they are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Go to Built.com to get birthday cake puffs right now. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15, all caps, no space, and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com.
Welcome back to Locked On Browns podcast. It's my man, Jeff Lloyd, me, G.Bush. We're back in the building again. We talked about this a little bit, yesterday in terms of the Browns rookie minicamp that's going on. And when you look at the Browns draft and you take a look at some of the different guys that they've brought in, I always evaluate a draft based on how many guys and contributors that you have in your draft class. For me, I think this was a draft where you didn't have a first round pick. You traded out of the second round. You have a question in your head. Well, if you're trading back to the third round, did you get some guys that can contribute And I think they did get some guys that can contribute with that. For me, it's David Bell. I think he's a guy that can definitely contribute to what the Browns are trying to do. And I look at it with Jarvis Landry. You look at the money Jarvis took, and we asked Ross about this off the record. He says, what could Jarvis Landry be in with the Saints? He said, hey, if he's the third guy, we'll love him. We love him down here. And I think that's a telling sign, because when Jarvis got into the league, I thought he was more of a 2 guy anyway. And not to knock Jarvis or what he's done, because his career has been tremendous. I mean, he's one of the guys who started off with catching so many footballs. People were talking about having him have a gold jacket pretty soon, but Jarvis brought a lot to the table. However, I think that there was, for what he was asking for, I think his skill sets weren't there anymore. And he has still something left in the tank, but I think he has to go somewhere where they have infrastructure around him, a creative coach that's going to be able to get him the ball, get involved, and some outside threats that are going to take a little bit of attention away. He can still win inside with linebackers, and he can still win inside when they're doing zone stuff or they're running zone and he doesn't have a dominant corner over him. But I think the Browns wanted to get a little younger. And I think when you look at David Bell, you go back and watch the I won't say Hard Knocks, but it was building the Browns. And, Kevin Stefanski is usually close to the vest, and he had an opportunity to talk to David Bell and say, hey, man, we really wanted to get you. We really wanted you with this pick. And Stefanski never really says that. I wasn't, at first I wasn't completely thrilled with the pick, but I had to go back and watch and watched how he competed for the football. You're a receiver. You know how it is. Sometimes it's not about speed. It's about how you get in and out of your breaks. It's about how your footwork getting off press man coverage. It's about reading the zone, knowing where to sit down. And then ultimately it's about catching the football when it's thrown to you. So he does all those things, and he did it at an elite level in Purdue. The guy had, all 90 catches in college, which is crazy to me. I don't even know who Purdue got at that quarterback, but he's putting up over 1,000 yards, 90 catches, and he's doing it against some good teams: Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State, Ohio State. Had big games against all of those teams. So I think when you look at it, David Bell is a guy that they're going to really look to put in that slot receiver and look to kind of spot shadow a little bit. I think he's the third receiver in my mind already, and we haven't even seen it camp. What are your thoughts on that, and who you got?
Yeah, and the thing, and first of all, obviously, hats off to David Bell. Just graduated over the weekend from Purdue University. So obviously, a very well-educated front office and staff here with the Cleveland Browns. Having David Bell, reach that pinnacle is probably something that impressed them as well. The production, obviously, for David Bell, very, very impressive in the Big Ten. And think about it, you can't name the quarterback. Up until Rondale Moore left Purdue, you're not going to be able to name anybody else that was on that offense. So obviously any defense was saying, we're going to take number 3 away. We're going to try to take number 3 away in David Bell. I think we both agree the most important rookie from this class is probably going to be Cade York. You have a solid kicker. You're talking that can change your record possibly by 2 games into the positive on any given season. I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball here. And maybe you see the exuberance. Maybe it's just the way he carries himself. But maybe it's just the fact that somebody's got to step up. And obviously there are rumors right now at the defensive tackle position. The Browns maybe have interest in Akeem Hicks, kicking around the name of Ndamukong Suh. But Perion Winfrey, the energy you see, and there was a transformation. He was asked to do different things at Oklahoma that weren't necessarily what was best for Perion Winfrey. They played an odd front, which made Perion Winfrey playing like a nose position. Not really the best thing to do when you're only 300 pounds. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it was really tough. The guy's not built like Vince Wilfork. His game is more quickness, just not brute strength, and just be able to, to absorb blocking. So I think he's going to have the ability here to, just be able to be creative. First step. We all talked about this for years here about the Browns. Oh, well, they need this guy, defensive tackle. They need it. Okay, well, the only one they tried was Andrew Billings, and it didn't work out. They don't look. They want long, length to their defensive linemen. I don't think they view interior versus the guys who play outside much differently. They want long, they want quick, they want the ability to disrupt. As far as stopping the run, hey, we've got good linebackers. We'll let the linebackers take care of that. You guys just do what your assignment is. And I think with a player like Perrion Winfrey, you're going to see that. You got to see him go down to Mobile, Alabama in the Senior Bowl. They were using him like NFL teams were going to use him. He had a tremendous week. He just, basically won every rep. He won it quick. He run, his length worked. He is a guy that's going to be involved heavily in nickel and dime for right now. The way this roster is currently constructed, he's going to be one of the pass rushers most likely out there in those situations. Early downs, you're probably going to look maybe at Tommy Togiai if one of these veterans comes in, or maybe a Jordan Elliott. But there's going to be a role here for Perrion Winfrey early. And no, he was not the earliest selection made on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Emerson was. Emerson is probably insurance for that cornerback room. They like the potential of what he can be, but understand that they're very deep there. With the selection of Winfrey, this is something they need now. This is something they need today. It's not, the defensive tackle position this has been one thing that's been, I wouldn't say a poor job by this Browns current, foundation, up top. It's just they haven't been able to get it to where they'd like it to be, the defensive tackle position. Obviously, Jordan Elliott his third year, Togiai now in his second, brought in Taven Bryan right here. That is not a, ground-breaking move by any means whatsoever. But this is one, and I think Perrion Winfrey's got the attitude. I think he's got the skill set. The Browns need to get a win here at the defensive tackle position as far as bringing somebody in. Last year, Malik Jackson, Malik McDowell, they were good, but certainly wasn't what they want. And if you look at what they did last year with Jackson and McDowell, this is the type of player that, Perrion Winfrey would maybe be a defensive tackle who has a better career as a pass rusher, similar to what Malik Jackson was in the NFL. So, I'm excited about Perrion Winfrey. I love the attitude he brings. Not everybody is that way in a locker room, but locker rooms need guys like that. You need the guy when you're coming in Tuesday morning after it was a loss, maybe everybody's a little down and, he's up. And there is no off button on this guy, Garrett. There's no off button on this guy. You'd think he literally lives in a Starbucks because he's ready to go 247. But I think Perrion Winfrey is going to be a very, very big addition for them on the field, but also maybe in the transformation, hopefully, of this defensive tackle room, maybe being more of a, contributor to this defense as opposed to just some guys who truly play the position.
Definitely agree. I think when you look at Perrion Winfrey, he has, definitely a uptick on his athletic ability that you're going to get over Malik McDowell. I think he's going to be able to give you a little more pass rush ability. And I just like the energy. I like the enthusiasm. I like the motor. If they can get him to play at that level consistently, I think they got a guy that can really contribute coming up this year.
So here we go, folks. Obviously now, Locked On Browns, available on YouTube, certainly available on Spotify, everywhere else where you get your podcasts. That is not going to change. Just the growth, obviously, in the industry, but of course, the growth of Locked On Browns here. This is now a two-man show. I am your co-host, Jeff Lloyd. He is your co-host, Garrett Bush. We are going to have a ton of fun with this, and obviously, for both of us, new project brings new excitement, brings new energy. And I'll be honest with you, at times, over 5 years, and you do anything for 5 years straight, eventually there's times where it's, and I'm not saying I was half-assing it by any means whatsoever, but there were times where it was just trying to get the motor going. In the talks I've had with Garrett over the last month, Garrett's got a little Perrion Winfrey in him. So that's where it's going to help me, because good to go, ready to rock anytime. Things I could ask for you guys to do for us, even if YouTube ain't your bag. I get it. Go to YouTube. Hit that subscribe button on the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's get those numbers growing. Whatever podcast app you use, make sure you're following or subscribed to the show, of course. And 5-star ratings, written reviews to everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every day. It means a ton. It's been a hell of a ride here. Obviously, we've certainly had some ups and downs with this Browns ride. I took over the show and immediately went through 2017 and 0-16 season. My wife was like, "Are you serious? Like, is this really what you really wanted to do this?" And then, of course, 2018. which started, obviously, a fun ride for 4 years. 19, not so much. 2020, anybody, you go do that Sunday night and just knocking around the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I mean, I still have shoulder pain from the amount of punches I threw at the ground celebrating over that one. Obviously, all the disappointment of what was supposed to be so special last year. But now here we are again here, and the Browns are amped up as a team. Roster is amped up. It's going to take a little time. Maybe it's going to take some time to gel, but this should be a really solid football team. So, Garrett, I am glad. I'm excited to have you along for this ride. I am excited for the growth. I'm excited for the new hurdles about to climb for this show. It's going to be a blast, my man.
Hey, man, I'm ready to do it. Let's get it going. Make sure y'all check us out. We'll be right back. Same place, same time tomorrow. You know what we do.
And we will close it like we always do. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.